who knows what happened tonight, and I implore upon that individual or individuals to come forward to provide information to our detectives, even if you have to do it anonymously through Crime Stoppers. Provide some information. There's a toddler who has injuries tonight consistent with a gunshot wound and is in the hospital. A toddler and their family should not have to be in this type of situation. Somebody in our community knows that this was going to happen. They were there when it happened, or they heard about what happened. I'm asking and I'm imploring those individuals who know something to come forward. They can call Crime Stoppers at 262-TIPS. They can call the IMPD Aggravated Assault Office at 327-3475. They can speak with a pastor or somebody in the community and pass that information along to somebody else. But we're asking if that information be shared with our detectives. Now that I've said that, to provide some information on what occurred tonight, shortly before 9:30 p.m., IMPD North District officers responded to the 2900 block of North Delaware on a report of a person shot. Upon arrival, they did not locate anybody, but shortly thereafter, an individual returned to the scene with a toddler, I don't have the exact age at this point, who had injuries consistent with a gunshot wound. That toddler, a male toddler, was transported to an area hospital in serious but stable condition and is currently being treated by medical staff. We're thankful for IEMS, who provided medical treatment on scene. As soon as the child returned to the scene, they provided medical treatment and transported the child to the hospital. Detectives are on scene and investigating. Preliminarily, what we believe occurred is there was a family who was inside an Airbnb here in the 2900 block of North Delaware, and there were shots that came from the alley into the residence and struck the toddler. We don't have any information on a specific suspect at this time. We're asking anybody who lives in the area, who may have doorbell cameras, who may have cameras in the alley, who may have heard something, who saw something. Anybody who doesn't live in the area who heard something via social media, through friends, through family, who might have reason to believe that their friend or relative was in the 2900 block of Delaware and wouldn't normally be, to contact our aggravated assault detectives at 327-3475. If you need to call Crime Stoppers anonymously, please do that. That number is 262-TIPS. And if you need to contact a clergy, member of the clergy, a relative, to pass that information along through somebody else, please do that. We're going to be out here for a little while. The road's going to be closed. Our detectives are going to be speaking with individuals who were inside the home at the time. And we're hopeful that we'll have some more information. But it's going to take not just the police department, but it's going to take the community and all of us to work together to figure out what happened and bring some justice to this family. Are there any questions?
You mentioned that they were here in an Airbnb. Do we know where the family was visiting from?
Indianapolis. I should say, I believe they're from Indianapolis, but I can't say that for sure.
How are they doing?
Toddler was, shot tonight. They're not doing well, and nor would I expect them to do well. There's a lot of emotion going on. I can add that this does appear to be targeted at this, at least at this residence. I can't say for sure if it was the individuals inside, but it was targeted. It doesn't appear that it was just a random act, that it was just somebody shooting at a random home.
How are you and your officers tonight? We know that no scene is ever easy to deal with when it comes to senseless violence, but we know it's especially harder. Emotions are exacerbated when it does involve a victim as young as this.
Yeah, there were officers who were here and saw the juvenile and was here when he was being treated, and they're frustrated, they're angry. The family is going through some other tragedy that I'm not in a position to share, so it's even more frustrating for me because I'm familiar with that. And so it really adds to the sense of urgency and the desire to try to find out exactly who was responsible for this.
Are these kinds of shootings where the victim was obviously not intentional so much harder for the community to kind of deal with this kind of senseless violence?
If it's my family, I'm not sure it makes a difference. I'm not sure it makes a difference whether or not somebody was shooting through a house or standing on the street corner. A member of my family or any family facing this type of tragedy is going to be difficult, and I don't want to minimize one versus the other. It's unacceptable. It's unnecessary, and somebody or some people in our community have information that they can come forward, and we're asking if they do that.
Preliminary information said a family member or friend took the child to the hospital. Is that still the case, or what's the situation with that?
Yeah, so somebody left the scene, and then we don't know specifically what brought them back. If they saw officers, saw the medics that were here, and came back. So they left, we believe, to go to the hospital, and then returned very quickly.
With the child?
With the child.
Okay.
Sergeant, I don't know if you can speak on this, but in these scenes that are obviously very chaotic and very emotional, when other family members show up and they want to do something about it, but they want to do it, they're going about it the wrong way, how would you kind of advise them to do that, or how would you like tell them to handle things as they're showing up to the scene, which is very, like I said, emotional?
Yeah, I mean, in times like this and others, we understand the emotions are high, and sometimes people don't act maybe as they would in other circumstances without those emotions in place. And in times like this, we have to secure the scene. We have to make sure that evidence doesn't disappear, that nothing happens that minimizes our potential to be able to prosecute the individual or individuals responsible. And so while it's emotional, we ask those individuals to try to understand where we're coming from. And we've requested victim assistance to respond to the scene, to try to work with those. And it's not just working with those immediately involved, but those who are in the community who might be impacted. I spoke with some residents who were concerned about what took place as well. They understand their concern. I would share that concern if it happened next door to my house. So we try to have those conversations and try to maybe bring the temperament down a little bit, but also have an understanding of why those emotions are high.
You answered as to, you said the family's from Indianapolis. Do you know why they just so happen to be here for a long time?
I believe they're from Indianapolis, and I do know why they were here, but at this point I don't think it's appropriate given the circumstances to share that information. I'm sure it'll come out in due time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
I had to ask that because I was kind of